Welcome to Empowerment Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Friedemann Schaub of the Fear and Anxiety Solution. Today, we will talk about a topic that I believe a lot of people are struggling with. A topic that may have been such a huge obstacle in your life that most of your time and energy may have gone into the direction of trying to resolve it. What I'm talking about is the fear of intimacy, or others may call it the fear of commitment. That fear has probably prevented you from finding a truly fulfilling relationship. You may know these patterns. At the beginning, you already are a person who doesn't really trust others. And as soon as someone shows interest in you, you're kind of backing up. You feel a little uncomfortable. But at some point, there is also a deep sense of loneliness and a desire for companionship. And so you do put your courage together, you go on to the dating field and you find someone. Now at the beginning everything feels nice and you're excited, there's a lot to explore and discover, but lo and behold there is an uneasiness that is settling in. Maybe you just feel that your partner starts to smother you, or maybe you're seeing no longer the good things that made you feel attracted to him or her, but you are starting to nitpick. You don't like how he's slurping the soup, or how she's breathing while sleeping, or why there's always a mess in the car. And lo and behold, you create a little barrier of judgment and criticism between you and the person you're with. Now, another pattern could be that you are becoming very clingy. As at the beginning you were confident and maybe even aloof, now in the relationship you get panicky when he or she doesn't call you, and when your partner seems to just be absent-minded. You tell yourself, oh no, now this is the end of the relationship, and you become needy and you become yourself maybe overbearing and smothering. Now what happens usually is that either you run and end the relationship, or you make that relationship so uncomfortable that your partner gonna pull the plug. You find yourself alone again, and for many that may feel like a relief. I escaped, it's better to be alone, I have my space, I have my freedom, I can do and be what I want. But then, maybe after a few weeks or a few months, that uneasiness is starting to settle in again. And you feel once again that sense of longing and wanting to be with someone, a sense of belonging into a relationship. And you go back out and the cycle continues. Now, if you have been dealing with a fear of commitment or a fear of intimacy, you probably have gone through quite a few relationships and never really found the one. And you wonder, is there anything wrong with the men or the women in the world, or is there something wrong with me? Sometimes you even wonder if you are maybe bipolar, or if there is really something messed up inside that you're not capable of loving someone. Sounds familiar? If you don't really know if you have the fear of intimacy or commitment, well, here are some other symptoms that may give you a clue on whether you're dealing with that challenge or not. What about the feeling of that you're lovable? Do you ever question that? Do you wonder if people really find you worthy of committing to, valuable? Or how about you not really allowing to have close relationships, even friendships? Somehow you always keep people at arm's length because you tell yourself, well, they don't get me, or they are selfish anyhow, or they are not trustworthy. Maybe you have an issue with serial dating and you just jump from one person to the next person, always just enjoying the beginning of the high, but as soon as there is a problem arising, you're out of the relationship. Or when you're in a relationship, as I just mentioned before, you hang on to it too long and too intensely. You may become like the person you're with, taking on their hobbies, their friends, their habits, and you lose your own. You just forget everything that was your own identity and more merge and melt with the other person. Or maybe you have issues in the bedroom. Erectile dysfunction, lack of libido are not just physiological issues, they are very commonly also emotional issues that can be resolved. You may just feel there is a physical intimacy that doesn't happen with your partner because already on an emotional level you feel distant. And even if you do feel connected and you do all the acrobatics in the bedroom that you want, you may still have an issue with intimacy because you may not feel really close with your partner. You may not really see him or her, but really just do this for your own self-serving reasons. Now, this is not an accusation. The fear of intimacy is an issue that for many is difficult, especially when it occurs in a long-lasting relationship. Often when I work with couples, they tell me that, well, they don't really believe they have a fear of intimacy. Their relationship is good. They have been married since 10, 15 years. But when we go a little bit deeper and a little bit longer, they admit that there are issues, that they don't really feel that their partner is their best friend, that they can confide more into their friends or in their siblings than into the person they're living with. They admit that there hasn't been any kind of romance, that they do avoid topics that make them feel embarrassed or insecure. They admit that they somehow feel they don't really want to spend time together. And since the kids are out of the house, everybody just stays busy and does things on their own. And when they actually do have time, maybe going out for a dinner in a restaurant, they don't know what to say to each other. Where we go into these long-term relationships, we can also develop, through the fear of intimacy, tracks where we play roles, where we take on certain patterns, where we are putting the person we are with in a box, and those tracks are not leading us together. They don't even lead parallel. They are always more and more distancing ourselves from our spouse, from our partners, and that's a sign of the fear of intimacy that we have to take serious. But the good news is, there is nothing wrong with you, even if you may have felt you're incapable of love, even if you may have felt maybe I'm bipolar, maybe I'm totally messed up. There are answers. And first of all, there are reasons for why you have been struggling with the fear of intimacy. So when we come back, we'll talk about how we develop the fear of intimacy and, of course, what can we do to resolve it.